everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and here once again with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, Pete Wright. You know what I just noticed?
What did you just notice?
It's the ADHD podcast 222. We are on episode 222.
222. You know, we have a ritual, a good luck ritual that somebody started in the 6th grade for me. Where whenever the clock hits 222 or 3:33 or something, you have to kiss
a wish.
You have to kiss a wall and make a wish. So,
see, I knew about the make the wish, but I have to admit I've never kissed the wall.
Yeah, you have to kiss the wall. Yeah, that's another thing.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's really not a sanitary thing, depending on where you are.
No, not at all. So you know what? I'm going to stay with just making a wish.
You should make a wish. But you may want to try it. You may want to just push that. See if your wishes become bigger or stronger if you kiss a wall once in a while. Yeah.
All right. So everybody that's listening has to kiss a wall and make a wish because you're listening to episode 222
right now. Yes.
Right now.
Pete's 6th grade self says, kiss a wall.
Do this.
We are going back to school this week. I love it. It's back to school season. It's a subject that is close to my heart. But before we do that, head over to takecontroladhd.com. Get to know us a bit better. Listen to the show right there on the website. Subscribe to the mailing list and make sure you get caught up on all of our episodes in your email. Connect with us on Twitter and Facebook. Take Control ADHD and call us 503-664-4ADD. If you're going back to school, we want to hear how it's going. What tools are you using? What strategies are you using to keep up and get started on the right foot? We'd love to hear from you. We got group coaching one more week to get yourself signed up, right?
Mm-hmm. One more week.
Excellent. Yep. Get signed up. You can find out more about that on the website, takecontroladhd.com. Right there on the homepage. Push the button, learn more, get your name on the list. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So back to school.
Back to school.
Back to school. Okay. Where would you like to start this particular conversation?
Well, I decided to make the first topic of this series easing the transition to college. And this, dealing with transitions in ADHD can be difficult no matter what the transition is. Big ones, especially like getting married, having a baby, going to college. All of these things are really happy events, right? But they can cause still so much great deal of anxiety and stress in our lives. So we're going to focus on that transition of people going to college. So it could be a young adult, leaving home for the first time, which is kind of scary and exciting and everything for the college student and for the parent. But it can also be for the adult who is going back to school and they're working. And, I have a client who works full time as a teacher, but she's getting her master's in teaching as well. So gosh, what a load there, workload trying to do both. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love back to school season. I'm starting to teach my first class. I'm teaching the second half of the first term. So I'm not starting it, but I'm just preparing my classes. I'm just starting to see my student list show up. And so I've got this stuff on the brain.
Awesome.
So this is great timing.
And you're going to have a lot to contribute, I'm sure, for the next few weeks. Yes.
I hope.
All right. Well, the first thing, actually, it's not even the first thing. It's a set of conversations that I would suggest parents having with their children, their adult children. But also, if you're an older adult, I mean, not, you're not 18, going to school, having these conversations either with your spouse or a friend or a partner, just somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of. And it's really a set of conversations. This is not meant to be all one long conversation because as you are going to hear me talk, there's like about 6 different categories here that we want to address. And one of the first conversations I would have with the student that's going to college for the first time, and this is probably mainly for the younger adults, is what do they expect the college experience to be like? And really just listening to them and hearing what they think it's going to be like. Asking them questions about how, of things that they're saying and being really curious about what they think. It's not a time for you to tell them what you think it's going to be like or what you know it to be like when you were in college. But it's really just a conversation to get a feeling of where they're at.
It's an opportunity to really reflect on expectations, to get that sort of a foundational set of expectations
Yeah, well, and it just gives you a better idea of what is going on in the kid's mind, right? And in the student's mind, because we don't want to assume that they're scared because maybe they're not. And we don't want to assume that they're excited because maybe they're scared. I mean, we don't know, so it's just giving you a chance to have that conversation in a safe place for the, hopefully for the student to be able to talk to you about it and you not butting in with what you think. And that's kind of the most important key here is just to really listen to them. Don't try to solve their problems, but really just listen to it. And then the next conversation that I would have with your student is to kind of figure out, what are the challenges that they faced when they were in school before. Many students are coming from IEP plans already. They've had challenges with time management, study skills, testing. They kind of know that that's an area where they struggle. So having that conversation of, okay, so where did you struggle the most? What subjects did you struggle the most? And where did you succeed? What are your strengths? What do you feel like you were really good at? And really kind of taking a self-analysis of the good and the bad so that you can start to address these things going into the college level. Because as you know, it is different, going to college than what you experienced in high school. And so trying to kind of pre-plan maybe some of the issues beforehand, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll speak up here on behalf of faculty members.
Yeah.
Because this is really important to me too, as somebody who gets up in front of a class and teaches them is, if you have a particular weakness, if you have a subject area that was weak, if you have a particular skill that was weak, maybe it's in note taking, maybe it's in test taking, whatever it is, there is one side where you get in touch with disability services, right? And you're going to have to do that, because faculty they're not allowed to have conversations, right, with you about, making study plans. Like I'm not allowed to go ahead and change the way the class works for you without some sort of interaction with the disability services because of, FERPA and all sorts of regulations. But I do deeply appreciate knowing the challenges that you are dealing with. So the first thing I'm going to say, if somebody comes to me, once you've had this conversation, get in touch with your faculty members that you're going to be working with because they need to know. Don't feel like you need to have shame or embarrassment or anything. Talk to your instructors, talk to your professors because or TAs. If you're in a large lecture class, you may be working with a lot of TAs. Talk to them first. Let them know where your problems are, problem areas are, challenges are, because they need to know. And then, talk to the other, administrative, areas that can help you make a plan if you need to go that far. But please work with your faculty members.
Well, that's a really good point. And I think that this actually, it goes into making sure that you do get in touch with the disability services prior to going to school to get those accommodations that you might need. Mm-hmm. Then when you do talk to your faculty members and your professors, you already know what those accommodations are and what you need. And some people assume that because they had them in high school, they're going to have them in college, and you can't make that assumption. You're going to have to go in and make sure you go through the right process and red tape, in college.
And there's no doubt there is red tape, and the bigger the university, the likely the more red tape you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah. So you're going to need to be prepared to get in touch with your doctor to make sure that they will, give you the formal diagnosis and the proof that yes, you have this, and what are the accommodations that you need. And that's something to think about, especially when you're having this conversation around the challenges that you had last year in school. And, some things to think about, which people may not know, what is it that I need? And just to give you a few ideas of things that I've seen with clients that I've worked with is extra time on tests, permission to take tests in separate, like quieter locations as accommodation. Sometimes you can alter the test formats. That might be something that you ask for. Extended time on certain assignments. Permission to record lectures is a big one because we want to re-listen to what you heard if you didn't catch everything the first time.
That's an interesting one though, because nobody comes to me for permission to record my lectures. They just do it.
Yeah. Well,
I've never had,
good.
I mean, that's everybody. That's not just people with working on a disability plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably a good course of action for sure. But anyway, those are some of the things to think about and go to those services, with and talk to your teachers.
Well, yeah. And you said, the people may not be sure what they need. I think you could rephrase that. People aren't sure what they have available to them.
Right. That too.
There are a lot of services that universities, particularly public universities, are required to offer you the second you raise your hand and say, I have this issue. Mm-hmm. And so definitely go through go through the list, because you may not know the services that are available that could make your life really, really easy. One that I have run into in my own experience is oral examinations. For people who really struggle with sitting down and writing for an hour and a half, particularly essay or et cetera, one of the accommodations is to sit down with me one-on-one and allow me to interview you based on what you know.
Right.
And sometimes people have much greater facility when they're speaking responses. So that's another great option for people with ADHD who have trouble focusing on sort of pen and paper, on just the white sheet or exam book or computer screen if they're, taking a response online. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and testing anxiety is certainly a huge subject. And so that can definitely eliminate some of that by knowing that you can talk about what you know and like you said, not have to write it, or if the multiple choice questions really stump you or whatever.
Absolutely.
And the time too. I mean, I think that's a big thing, because if you are stressed about the time and then, you start getting anxious about that, then you're just starting to guess and trying to get through it as fast as you can. I mean, a lot of those things can factor in. So,
yeah.
Okay. So now on a kind of a off subject that doesn't have anything to do with like studying or school specifically, is just basic life skills, having a conversation with your student about when they're going to eat, when are they going to do laundry. I know these things seem really basic, but if you think about an 18-year-old who has been living at home, probably having a lot of these things done for them, going out and doing it all of a sudden by themselves with ADHD, you're going to forget to eat, and you're going to not even think about doing your laundry until you have no more clothes, right? I mean, this stuff is really important that your students have an idea that they're set up for success. So having that conversation.
It's so big. And, I just want to say, and I'm admitting this here to you.
Yeah.
I am cruising through my 40s, blasting through my 40s. I'm talking to you, I teach at a university, right? This is my experience. You would look at me, and by all outward appearance, I appear to be an adult, a high functioning adult, and yet I forget to eat. I forget to eat. It is not something that we can assume you just wrap your head around, whether you're 18 or 14 or 30. If you're
40 something,
or 40 something cruising through your 40, these are the kinds, these life skills are so important. And so I just feel like it is never too late or too early to start having these conversations about, if I don't put eat on my calendar, I'll reschedule that and something else will get done over it. It's terrible.
It is so true. I mean, I had a conversation just recently with one of my students that I coach, and we were looking at her schedule, and Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are just packed. I mean, they're just like, those are her heaviest days. And we had to sit there and really look at, okay, when are you going to have breakfast? You're not going to have time to go to the dining hall. So you're going to have to actually have some kind of breakfast in your room ready for you. So we were kind of talking about different options. When are you going to eat lunch? And like you said, putting that in her planner, in her calendar, eat lunch between this time. Otherwise, she won't be eating until dinner because she's so busy in the afternoon. So, these basic life skills are really important. And I think even as parents, we kind of assume that they would just know that they eat at lunchtime, but I'm telling you, they don't.
They really don't.
They won't think about it. They'll get distracted, and, or they're going to eat, be blunt, they're going to eat crap.
Yeah. And they're especially if they're on a meal plan, like if they're going the traditional route. And obviously I should say there are so many different ways right now to get a higher education. that, we make some assumptions. And I think some of those assumptions based on our own experience, sort of. But if they're on a meal plan, they're going to go and they're going to eat. They're going to have a lot of options because meal plans at most universities are really, really nice right now. But they're still going to go straight for the cereal bin, and they're going to have that and like 14 little glasses of like juice. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to
potato chips
or like it's going to be awful. And so help coach them in the right direction.
Absolutely. So that's a very important conversation to have, and probably more than just one conversation.
Right.
Another conversation is around just basic study habits, and I will be we will have more tips on study habits in the podcast and also on the blog. So please visit in the next few weeks. Both of those, come back to the podcast and visit the blog on Take Control ADHD, because you will find more information about that. But I think the initial conversation is just getting an idea from your student, where is the best place for them to study? And, is it going to be in their dorm room? Is it going to be in the library? Is it going to be outside? Where are they going to be less distracted?
You sometimes need to build a study map, like where, because those places are not going to be, like, you can't have one place to study. Like, you really need to be comfortable with a number of different places depending on what's going on.
Well, yes. And I think it's important to have the conversation of what helps you focus. Is that a fidget toy? Is that having background music? Because if your roommate doesn't like background music, then you've already eliminated one place that you can't really study unless your roommate's not there, right? I mean, these are the things to kind of just work through and kind of figure out, what you need, where you're going to focus the best. And it may take some practice. And that's the other thing, is I have a brand new student I'm working with right now who is a freshman going in for the very first time. And we really don't know where the best place for her to study is yet. And so we're going to figure that out, and then in the first couple of weeks of her starting school, we're going to figure it out. But it's something to pay attention to and have a conversation around for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. That's it, because we've already talked about the disability services. So, those are the conversations I would have with students as they're going in. And again, if you're an adult going back to school, same kind of conversations that you're having with yourself or with a partner or spouse or friend, just to be able to get that second pair of eyes to kind of help you, figure this out. Like, how is this all going to work for you? On a side note, if you're thinking about hiring an ADHD coach to get you through college, I think it's a fabulous service, personally.
I do too.
I love it. It is definitely one of the things I love doing. I love working with these students, and I had the pleasure of seeing somebody graduate last year, and it was a great honor to see him get that diploma. So, of course, if you are interested in hiring a coach, give me a call. I can help with these conversations with your students as well as you, and, give them the support and accountability and everything that they need throughout the year as well. If you are thinking about hiring a coach, I do recommend that you meet with that coach prior to starting school, at least one session, so that we can have these conversations before you actually get into the thick of things, because then it might get kind of stressful. Not to say that it can't work, but if you're listening to this and you're not starting school until the end of September, what I'm saying is you don't have to wait until the end of September to talk to your coach.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Next, or this week on the blog, I'm going to do a post on how to get your schedule right. And that has some really great ideas on how to schedule for the person who has ADHD, because your schedule might look a little different than somebody that doesn't have it.
Oh, so that's so great. Especially looking at the, how to manage the things you can't control on your schedule.
Yeah.
That's so big.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Stuff.
All right. Thanks everybody for downloading, listening as always. And on the blog, speaking of the blog, we've had some folks go in and sign up for our new blog email service. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of Nikki's articles, so she posts twice a week, right?
I do once a week. Actually, once a week. Yeah, because you've got the podcast once a week and you got the blog post once a week. And usually, not always, but usually I try to do a theme. I'm a theme person.
Very themed.
So whatever we talked on the podcast, I usually add, I'll try to supplement that with the blog post, but I can't always say that that's always going to happen because sometimes I just feel like writing and it has nothing to do with the podcast.
Right. That's right. Fair. That's okay too.
And that's okay too.
So thank you, everybody. So go over to the blog. You can sign up and have just the blog posts delivered to you whenever Nikki posts them. And so as soon as she posts and publishes, you get the article in your inbox. So
Yay!
That's the deal. Thank you, Nikki, as always. Thank you for downloading and listening. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.